Yo, yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 118 of Mini Truckin magazine. October 2001. You got Doug's truck on the cover. His last name is Peliermier. So I don't want to butcher the name. But this is his sic-and-slick Chevy S-10 Blazer with the Squirrel Girl hottie Candace Clapp on the cover. This was the 10th cover truck with KMC wheels. It's the 6th Blazer to grace the cover of Mini Truckin. Now, I want to correct myself on Sean Ornduff's cover. I mentioned that it was Lance's 14th credited cover. That was an error of mine. That was actually his 11th. For some reason, I messed that up. My apologies. But this is Lance Martz's 12th credited cover for Mini Truckin magazine. Jeremy Cook does the interview, and he mentions that he goes way back with the girl Candace, so they must have been friends or something. But he kind of hints at that. It's a pretty cool cover. What I would say that sticks out to me is obviously there's not a lot of Blazers on the cover, even throughout the entire series of the issues. Pretty cool because you've got someone sitting in, presumably Doug, the owner, sitting in the Blazer. Cool graphic that was very popular at the time, and you have the Squirrel Girl theme. Now this is kind of, being that this issue would have been kind of in hand in mailbox around August time frame, kind of the back to school theme, if you will, which is school days. Now Lance, on his scrub line, you're going to see in a few moments, he talks about school days again, which ties back into the theme of this one, and he talks about expanding the pages and whatnot. But someone had mentioned recently too, and I failed to mention this, so I appreciate when the listeners and the viewers chime in, because there are things I miss. Certainly by this point, the and compacted minis is dropped from the cover, so that was in 2001 when that took place. And you can see here Extreme S10 parts from Autobahn and AIM. They obviously want to call out the different shows, including Blood Drag and whatnot. That's going to be key, because if you went to one of those shows, you would have obviously wanted to see, hey, did your truck get in there? And I'd imagine if there was a stat that said, did people buy more issues, or did they buy extra issues if their truck was in there? I certainly would guess so. Here you can see table of contents continues to expand. You got a topless Mazda over there from the Pacific Northwest. There's Candace Clapp, and you can see where I got sic-and-slick Blazer from right there. Lance shoots this one. Features, events, tech. You can see it's expanding pretty nicely in terms of the content. You can see here on the web they're pushing that. And if we look over here, you'll see the Civic, the Ranger, some of the trucks we saw recently, including Donnie from Subculture at the time, the Toyota. Certainly appreciate you guys coming back and rocking with us, so thank you very much. Lance talks about, as I mentioned here, about expanding the pages. Now we will see the next issue jump up to 107. So if you looked at this magazine from beginning to end, it's typically 99 pages, not counting the back cover, but basically 99 pages. It does bump up to 107 and then 115, but that didn't stay for long for whatever reason. It's probably tough. It's kind of like an album. An album used to have X amount of songs, and the songs are 3.5 minutes a piece, and that type of thing. And you want to do a double album, or you want to expand, it takes a lot. So they do expand the magazine a little bit, but it traditionally stays around 99 pages. Here is Peer Pressure, and there was a previous truck titled Peer Pressure in the magazine, kind of the earlier issues. You may recall that, and I think it was also an NC truck, but that happens, obviously. Even today, you'll see people building stuff, and they'll come up with a name like Game Over or something, and it's like, well, that was already done. But just like music and albums and stuff, there are some songs that are named the same, but they're different. So pretty cool. Super low Mazda. Again, you can see here. Awesome. This was Leif Christensen, I believe is how you say his name. 89 Mazda. Ironically, the other truck that was titled Peer Pressure in the earlier days was also an 89 Mazda. Here's fun with fiberglass. Ads, of course. Heart Attack, Forever Lowe's Valentine's Day Show 2001. So obviously we're getting towards the end of 2001. So you're going to start having 6-7 months prior. And Forever Low, one of their contributions to the scene, throwing this show. Check out the car. See the Forever Low logo there. Here's that S10 I was talking about, Tuckn, Tuckin 20s. Super clean. I always liked that S10 with that newer front end, or, I mean, presumably it was, you know, that was a stock front end, but that front end looks so good with that valence. Nice, perfect size wheel for an S10, in my opinion. Again, if you like what we're doing here, please leave a comment. I see some of you guys comment every time. Much appreciated. There's the S10 again. So this was a little bit different, and this might have kind of tied into just some of the changes that Lance had hinted at. This was Scott Massengill, so we saw that name, heard that name recently. I saw this truck in person, I'm 98% sure, either at Showfest or at Indy Truck Bash. I remember the tag, I'm lower, and this was Scott's S10 with the 6-inch chop top. A windshield laid back 3 inches, and a 7-inch body drop. So I kind of mentioned recently, people were trying to go like, you know, the whole go big or go home. This probably could be in the dictionary if you flip to that. It was go big or go home. It was like, hey, do every mod on planet Earth, which is cool. To me, this was one of the unique things about it. The bed. You know, how it was radius this much and things like that. I think it's a cool, advantageous project. You know, when I say do every mod, I mean, it's a lot of work to do a couple of these mods, let alone do them all. So anybody know if this truck was finished? I don't know. So many of these trucks, you know, you get a big jump on them, and you know, you just never know where they're going to end up in terms of being finished. But probably the first time we saw under construction was one truck that spanned 2 pages. So again, if you think about some of the changes that Lance hinted at, certainly that could have been one. This Brian Baddie Toyota is just, I mean, dude, it has stood the test of time. This thing is still around in the scene. It's like it never left. It's definitely a staple in the scene. And it's so awesome with the topper and the hydros, clean engine bay, graphics, interior. Thing has got it all. I guess when you think of one word, maybe either survivor or I say longevity. Super awesome. Definitely deserving of a feature. Maybe even a cover. But badass truck, still love seeing it. I think the last time I saw it, there's a couple trucks that get confused, but I think that's the one I saw at Mini Nats last year. But there are 2 trucks that blend together in my mind. I know sometimes I go through these a little quick with riding around, since these flip-throughs tend to get long. But certainly, I try to do a nice overhead there in case you need to pause it, or if you know someone's truck that was in. Again, part of the reason for doing this is people would ask me, hey, my dad's truck was in such and such issue back in such and such year. And it was tough to kind of nail all that down. But you can go through and watch these or skim through them. Young gun, so 19-year-old and schooling the big kids. So it kind of tied in again to the school theme, which I thought was awesome. Got the schoolgirl theme, I can't say that, going on, which I dig. Lay in frame, I always liked when not sure how legal it was, especially in California, but how the roll pan, super clean on this one, by the way, on these Blazers when they're done like this. But how the tag was kind of almost behind. It's pretty cool. You can see there, I don't know how to, I can't speak today. I don't know the correct pronunciation of his name. Upland, California. You can see full stereo. The KMC Stealth wheels, I believe. I liked how the interior was all done, but it really had kind of that nice, awesome, it still had that originality of those awesome Blazer interiors. Something to point out, I talked about recently with body drops. These things, because at the time, stock floor body drops weren't super huge. I mean, you can see how big that frame is. It took a lot to, cut these, and that's why, guys were doing like 4+ inch body drops or right around 4-inch body drops or having to lop that frame down. I'm not a fabricator, but certainly I've been around the stuff long enough to know that the guys that did the Blazers, they were doing a lot of work to get those things to lay flat. Now it's a different game, with stock floor body drops and full chassis being built like there's no tomorrow. You can see, obviously, Tsunami. I'd guess that the guy was like a, stereo guy. And, of course, stereos and mini trucks go hand in hand. You can see how nice this thing is. Pretty cool that it's all the back. You can see here right where the tailgate would have been. But you can see that the 4 seats are retained, and obviously with it being bagged, that was easily accomplished. Super clean engine bay. It's got all the good stuff underneath there. I dig the heck out of this truck. Pretty cool. And then you can see the interior of the 4 seats with some of the graphic that ties into the interior. Plenty of tweed. I guess the factory console. Can't really tell if they altered a lot. And here is something that stood with the mag for a long time, the lowdown. Although they did the interview style deal, we saw those first couple issues where it was like, okay, well, there was still, how do we find information about the truck? And that's what the lowdown did. Here you can see Jeremy Cook, longtime guy over there at the publications. I bet you never thought I'd be doing the interview. Lance and Mike borrowed me from Truckin because they know you and I go way back. So kind of cool that, off the top of my head, I don't recall if she was on maybe one of the Truckin covers or Jeremy just knew her. But pretty cool. Beautiful woman. I think the theme tied in pretty cool. Awesome cover truck. Definitely check out OLP if you haven't already. We're getting ready to hit 330 episodes, which is crazy to me. And we're going to hit our 8-year anniversary in August. Louder Than Hell, a border crossing S-10. Something a little bit different. This was Kevin from Hobbs, New Mexico. I really loved when these trucks would do the stereo in the bed too. These are the Alien wheels. I was a fan of the Aliens and the Odysseys. There was a local guy that has since passed on, John Mackey. He had on his S10 back in the day. They were, I want to say the Odysseys. Just always dug those. Mini Laughter Expand. So again, this kind of ties into what Lance was saying about, bringing Mike on and having some fresh new ideas. I'm guessing one of these guys is Jeff, my buddy Jeff from Devious Customs. We can see the Devious Customs windshield banner there. I don't know if that's Jeff driving or if that's Jeff here, but certainly kind of a funny little thing. Check that out. CDs. I was thinking the other day, like how, distractions that we had when we were, 20, 25 years ago was, changing cassettes. Well, basically CDs, eating while driving, stuff like that. Now there's tons more with phones. So a cool little skit that they did. Good times. I stayed with Jeff back in September 2022 when I went out for the Raddies cruise, but I did a bunch of pop culture stuff too, so it was kind of cool to actually make it to Riverside. WallEye Syndrome and the Joys of Travel. So Mike Finnegan always did a great job, again, telling a story, as he said on the podcast. This photo, I want to say, is probably from Greenville that year. I'm pretty certain, but I could be wrong. When I first saw it, that's what came to mind. So yeah. But you can imagine around October, would be a few months past, so, they'd start to run some of that stuff. So West Palm, this is where the Tacoma would have been featured. And I believe this 01 year was when Ed Eister, so when he sent me some of the behind-the-scenes photos from the features, and I said Travis was kind of lining them up. You can see Travis, his name there. We were, of course, there this year. I have photos of a lot of these vehicles. It's my buddy Tom Bennett. There's the Cheetah Blazer. He is putting the wraps or finishing touches on his F100. He's built a Cadillac after this. He's built a few things, but a Cadillac he still owns. The Lincoln that he's had 20 plus. Super clean Tacoma. This truck was around a long time with the tube chassis deal. This is the Ranger with the the Miata door handles. Here you have the topless S-10. This thing was around a while, probably still around. And the suicide door, local minis. Toyota pickup. You got more coverage. Again, this was a show that started growing pretty quick. Here you could see Ed Eister. Shout out to the Iced Man. Can we call him the Iceman? Eister? We haven't nicknamed him fully, I don't think. But he, of course, has Colorado custom wheels on it there and still has the truck. And he talked a little bit about that when we had him on. This was a crazy creation. We remember seeing that there. This was Eric. He had just gotten in Severed. You can see he's walking with the yellow shorts. We got him featured that weekend for Tailgate. John shot it. Dennis's truck. I'd love to buy this truck if I could find it. It has my old bench seat. And I think at the time, those might have the bucket. I can't tell if it has the buckets. I think it has the bench, though, for my S-10. Matt body dropped that truck, and super, super awesome. I don't think my wife would want me buying more trucks, but I can try. So a couple more pages here. Hang tight. We got a big one coming up here in a second. Ties into a famous or a popular TV show, and it's right here. Kev Dog. For those that don't know, the Bone Collector, Tuckin 20s and Dragon Body. This is Kevin from Bitchin' Rides, from Kindigit. I talked to Kevin about this. I'd love to get him on the podcast. I know some of you guys have suggested that. And I was at SEMA, and he came to the little kickoff party for the Mini Truck Hall of Fame thing, and I was talking to him about Bone Collector, and he's like, yeah, man, back in the day. I think I can't remember if he says he still has it. I'm guessing he sold it. A lot of these trucks you'd see like for sale on it because these guys were builders, but certainly an Isuzu Space Cab. That's not talked about enough. Here's the 5th annual Sever Ties Show and Shine. This is a show that's it went around for, I forget how many years. But super, super awesome license. Super, super awesome show. A lot of people had a good time at it. You can see probably where they shot the Mazda at. And a lot going on here. A lot of good show coverage. These were shows you'd want to go to because you'd want to get your truck either in the magazine or potentially show or get it shot for the magazine or show, hey, this is what I'm building. We could start to see a little bit more color. So like Waz Up, there's that photo I keep talking about. You can see a little bit more color. I think we're technically not all in color yet. Here's Kent Ladner's. That would have been 2001 Greenville, I want to say. This photo of this gentleman here. I know it's Kent's because Kent's was shot for the cover of Street Trucks. And we can see the Severed logo there. And, of course, Extensive built it. It has the gas door right there. Took some photos of it, of course, as well. Shout out to Kent, longtime friend. Schools out, drag carefully. Kind of cool. Ties out, ties into. But, yeah, if you look back here, technically, I keep not believing that we're all color. Not all color yet. And technically what you can see there is we are not all color. So there you have it. Pretty cool. Appreciate you guys rocking with us all the way till the end. It's crazy to think that this is issue 118. We're not halfway through 269, but October 2001. Appreciate you guys. Consider subscribing. Stay on the rise. Yachia. Peace.